Hey fam, you're listening to episode 3 of The Full Rotation, the music podcast where your co-hosts James and John talk about the best music we've never heard. How you doing, John?
Doing well, how are you?
I'm doing good. We have a new setup. I'm hoping this comes through a little bit clearer. Don't have like the kind of open air sound that we had in the past too. So I think we're getting more legit.
I'm trying to get sponsored. That's why the setup's getting better.
I think that's what it is. You know, I want to be able to be like, hey, go to squarespace.com/promo code full rotation or something like that, you know. So, you know, any promo people, if you guys want to get sponsor us, send us a ton of money, feel free to email us at thefullrotationpodcast@gmail.com. That's the right one.
I'll take swag too. It doesn't even have to be money.
Yeah, we can do swag.
Anything free.
Yeah, that's actually fair. I don't know. I'm being very monetary and
you're very superficial.
I shouldn't do that. Since we're talking about how to contact us, you should also check us out on Instagram.com/thefullrotation and Twitter.com/thefullrotation. I think I want to start off today by recanting a previous statement from my last episode. The last episode was Timbaland and Magoo, and I kind of talked about the last bit of the album, and I was like, oh, well, the last song's a throwaway, and which was Up Jumps the Boogie remix. And I actually have to say that it's actually a pretty great song.
It grew on you?
It really did. Like, I went back and listened to it, and I was like, man, I feel like this actually is a pretty decent song. And I think when I heard Missy rapping on it, it just kind of solidified it even more. So just wanted to recant that previous statement. You know, got to give credit where credit's due, I think. I think that's super crucial. So
I haven't done the ranking like ever solidly in my mind, but I almost would say that Missy Elliott could be my top 10 favorite rappers of all time. So anytime I hear her, I'm happy about it.
Yeah, and you know, maybe she made the song. You know, it's kind of like how DJ Premier makes a beat. Like no one sounds bad on a DJ Premier beat.
Right.
Maybe she's just like that. She makes any kind of song really, really great.
Yeah.
Mad at me, but you better get back. I'm about to rat-a-tat-tat, tiki-tiki-tiki-tat. Lay me flat on my back. In fact, I interact and make the track perfect. You heard that? Pat me, give it to me, daddy. Cut it like confetti. I know y'all sending mother, was it ready? You're back in the studio, yeah, I got you sweating. Timbaland, my man, beep, beep. In the caravan, there go my man. Magoo, what you got plans for pulling down your pants? On Magoo, no bag, while you're tripping like...
So yeah, so I had to just go ahead and come clean with that. A couple other things, just I feel like kind of chit-chatting before we really dive in. I'm not going to talk about this too long because I think everyone is, but these R. Kelly tapes. It's kind of ridiculous.
I mean, the ones that keep coming out?
Yes.
There's a new one as of today.
That's what I'm saying. Today, as in February 25th, 2019. Got to be evergreen. Make sure that everyone knows when this is. But that's, I don't know. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy to me. I watched the show, and it's kind of appalling, but I won't spend too much more time on that. I put on my notes, R. Kelly tapes, G's.
I mean, he's an old man, and they're talking about 70 years, and I just don't see how, with the political culture that we live in today, how he would get away with anything this time around. Yeah,
I hope not. You know, I don't mind saying that. I think it's kind of insane. You know, I think he got a pass at first, and now it's just. Anyways, but let's not dwell on the negative. Let me see. What else do I have? I did see a trailer. I know we didn't get to look at it, but it's for Motley Crue. Motley Crue is a kind of a bigger rock band from me growing up. I used to listen to them all the time with my mom and my dad, and it's called The Dirt. It's like one of those new biopics. You know, I think those are big right now. They just did, you know, Bohemian Rhapsody won last night, pretty big, and stuff like that for the Oscars, and they have one for Elton John coming out soon. So now, obviously,
that would be dope.
I think so. I think that'll be super cool. And then this one, you have to check it out. I'll leave a link in the liner notes and all that stuff. They look like a crazy band. They're like
insane people.
Yeah, they're like the ones where like you get the stereotypical kind of thinking of like when you hear rock bands trashing hotels. That was
setting shit on fire.
Yeah.
Doing copious amounts of drugs.
Exactly.
Like hotel orgies, all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's it for me. What's new in your world?
I'm still waiting to see how the 21 Savage situation shakes out.
Right.
I keep hearing a lot of different things, like rumors on the internet, like. And some people are saying now that they think he's possibly an industry plant, and I don't know how nobody could have caught that.
What does that mean?
Well, so the backstory is that he has his biological father is a very, very successful doctor in some way. I wish I knew more specifically like how, but he's been on the Breakfast Club doing interviews like before 21 Savage ever even had a song.
Really?
Yeah, so he was already kind of somehow in some capacity in the entertainment industry, in the sense that he was, it seems like he was like a celebrity doctor kind of.
Really?
Like a Dr. Oz, but on a lesser known scale.
Gotcha.
And the way that, at least for me, when I first heard about 21 Savage, is that he was this, unknown kid out of like a really bad neighborhood in Atlanta that had done all these things. I think he has been through a really hard life.
Sure.
But now it seems like maybe, a certain amount of his childhood was in London or in a neighborhood outside of London. And I don't know. I don't know how anybody could have not caught that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like one of his schoolmates could have been like, nah, dude, I remember when you came to school for the first time, you had an English accent. Like, where is his English accent?
Didn't he say he remembers having one? I thought I read somewhere, but who knows? Who knows? I don't know. I still like his music. I still think it's great.
Definitely.
I think one of the things is you're starting to see now is like the outrage culture of everyone. Yeah. Like everyone's just like, well, to hell with him. And it's
We're
like
super reactionary now.
Exactly. And everyone's just like, nope, to hell with him. He's terrible. It's like, no, he's still good. It's just, really the backstory is really crazy. I mean, look at Taylor Swift. She didn't like come from nothing. I mean, her family was pretty well off.
And that's a really fair point. I mean, I love to clown on Taylor Swift because her dad definitely paid buku stacks, at a really fancy record label in Nashville.
Yeah.
And definitely, like, if anyone's a plant, like Taylor Swift is a plant. Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
Like, how can we talk about plants and not talk about her?
Man, but she's good. She's really, I don't know, like, that Bangers album of her is like a deep, dark secret that I love.
So I got grief about Maroon 5. But you can pull Miley Cyrus
I'm
out.
not saying you can't grief me for it. I'm just saying that I'm just saying she's very good. She's actually a very good singer at the end of the day. And anyways,
I'll need to deep dive on her more. I shouldn't write her off.
Yeah, the Bangers album, because it's a lot of Mike Will made it beats.
I mean, that was her hip hop era.
It was,
and that's why I got turned off by her, because she did a hip hop. She borrowed from hip hop.
Sure.
And then turned her back on hip hop and said that all hip hop was a bunch of twerking. And it's like, Miley, we watched you twerk across the stage for like a year and a half.
That's fair.
You can't diss twerking now.
That's totally fair. All right, that's good. We ready to dive in? Okay. So the album we're going to talk about this week is an album called The Feature Presentation by Showtime. Showtime is a group that was born in Decatur, Georgia. It consists of two people, one DJ Applejack, and one MC, Big Dipper. It's very interesting. Excuse me. It's very interesting. I'm kind of cold. Sorry about that. Yeah. They put out this album. I was reading up a little bit about. There's not like a lot to be known about this album, but Applejack wrote on like his Blogspot page about it like 10 years when it was 10 years old. So back in 2008, it was 10 years old. So it's like a 21-year-old album. And he was just talking about how it was made and everything. And apparently they tried to get it played really big on like 97.5 back in the day, but that was right when like Lil Jon and all the crunk dudes were going crazy. Like we had this crunk explosion here. And so like they were saying that this album was too hip hop. It was too like, it was just too old school. So they didn't get really any play on the radio. I think it's a really phenomenal album. It's one of my favorite local albums I've ever heard. And I think it's one of my favorite like little like gem that I could always hold and be like, oh, I have this one album from this group that like no one's hardly ever.
Pull out your hipster card.
Exactly. What's crazy is a friend of mine had gotten the CD. And then he had it for a while, and then I had it, and I lost it for probably 8 years, like in a spindle. Back in the day, you just had spindles of CDs. And then I found it, and it was all scratched up, and I was like, oh my gosh, I hope I can rip this still. And so I ripped it, and now I have it in perpetuity. But it was really, really one of my more favorite albums. I think it's super hard. I think it's super raw. I really, really dig it. And I'm really excited to hear what you think are like the, your favorites and kind of your not so favorites.
When did you listen to this album for the first time? What year was it? Are you able to remember?
I think it's I think it came out. He was saying it came out in like late 98, early 99. I probably didn't hear it until I went into college. So late 99, 2000 is when I heard it pretty relatively right after it came out, I feel. Yeah. And so I was always just, so I have like, I definitely have like the rose colored glasses where I have all this nostalgia from it. I think it goes without saying this wasn't like a major release. So it's got a lot of mixing issues, a lot of like sound issues, but I think that's what really makes it so like like charming and lovable.
It has a raw sound for
yeah,
sure.
for sure. But I think for, you know, I've listened to other people's albums who have come out without like really any kind of like mixing, like fine-tuned mixing and everything. And I think I think Applejack really cared a lot to like try and make it sound as good as he could at the time.
It's stylistic at the very least.
Yeah, I think so.
The thing that's interesting to me, I read that you sent me the Blogspot article that Applejack, I guess, wrote.
Yep.
And I was trying to think about, as far as timelines go, you know, if this album came out in 98, that's such an interesting year for hip-hop.
Yeah.
Because we had already seen, I think, 3, maybe 4 Outkast albums. Goody Mob had put out Soul Food.
Yeah.
Kilo Ali was tearing up Atlanta already. So Atlanta was kind of coming into its own, despite the, like, anti-South, anti-Southern rap that existed in mainstream hip-hop. But this album doesn't sound like any of that. Yeah. In my mind, at least. Yeah.
What's interesting, you know, he also mentions that he felt more akin to like Slum Village and a lot of like the Detroit sound that was coming out.
I was going to say, he kept referencing Detroit.
Yeah. I think Applejack has a lot more like feel for soul samples and a lot of that stuff. So that came through in the music with all the samples.
Yeah. It is a good album though. I was excited because I had never heard of the album prior to you know, saying that this was the topic for this podcast.
Right.
I'd never heard of Applejack or Big Dippa, and immediately, and this is just me pulling out my snarky card. I was like, Applejack. Yeah, like big, like I was like, you guys didn't make it because of your name.
Sure. Like I think one thing we should put in our tagline is like, we'll hate on your name.
Yeah, we will hate him. Magoo got hated on for his name last episode.
Yes,
and Applejack. I mean, that is that's an interesting choice. Why Applejack? I mean, have you ever known?
No, he's very active on Twitter. I bet you we could reach out to him and even ask him. He'd probably tell us an interesting story about that.
I did enjoy all his weed references though. There's a lot of weed references in the album. That was good.
Yeah. I think it goes back to like Crumble and Herb, off of Outkast and all that stuff. So yeah, I definitely think this is like, I feel like this is just like, you know, story of you know, two guys just being in their hood, being in their, like, you know, in their element, just, you know, smoking weed, drinking, being the best on the block and all of that.
If they were from Decatur, do you think that they like had any affiliations with Organized Noise, Goody Mob, like anybody from that family?
I don't know. I didn't really hear them mention that. So, you know, I think Outkast and Dungeon Family, maybe those guys were just already like blown up so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think Aquemini dropped before this album dropped.
Yeah. So I'm not sure. I mean, maybe I'd like to think if they would have kept pushing on it, because they stopped because Big Dippa wasn't seeing any money from it, and he started a family, and he was like, hey, I've got to like provide for my family. So that's kind of why it ended. I wonder if they stayed on the hustle a little bit longer, because they started to do some other songs later on, like in 2000, with a couple of artists, Lone Catalyst, which is another like underground hip hop group. They did a 12-inch with them, and I think they could have kept going. I think they could have done better, but I think they just kind of stopped, and you know, that was like the death of it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I tried to Google image them just to see what they look like, because being, you know, a millennial, the visual representation is really important to me. Yeah. I couldn't find album art. Yeah. I couldn't find photos. Like not a MySpace like cached photo from the internet. Nothing. Yeah. No, it's super crazy how underground this stuff was. I mean, the album that I have, the CD that I have, just says like Showtime feature presentation. So it's like, I don't even know if that was the original or where we got the original from. I don't know where we got the CD from. I just know we got it. I know my friend got it. He gave it to me, and then I've kind of like fawned over it my entire like past 20 years, like just jamming out to it and everything. So why don't we jump on into it and everything and kind of like hear about your favorite songs? Yeah, let's do it. We'll do it. Well, my favorite song from the album, definitely, like without a doubt, the one that I went back to a couple of different times, was Decatur Theme. I think that's track 8.
Yep.
To me, that song had the most unique sound.
Yeah.
Like the flow was different, the hook was different, even the beat itself, I don't know how to articulate why, but stood out from everything else on the album.
Yeah. Top air dunks, and I'm still catching hell from these bills. But like Blueberry Hill, I found my thrill. The meat on the grill. It's the weed that within me releases skills. I'm about to be married with chill, and trying to land a deal to put my fam over the hump for real. So I got no more worries now and no more fears. My city's been good to me over the years. No matter how far away I stray to different parts of the map, my heart will always bring me back to Decatur.
And I might have just been pushing this, and the name of the song is Decatur.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, this is one where I'm getting some Outkast vibes.
Yeah.
And I have no idea why. I mean, aside from all the obvious reasons, but
Yeah.
I really wanted there to be like this Outkast
Yeah,
synergy.
yeah. It's I think that just shows like it's a Southern sound. I think
Right.
it shows like that's like the same kind of culture you're brought up in.
Right.
I just love the whole beginning of it where it's like just slowly saying Decatur and like it just kind of like I don't know, it just feels Atlanta. I don't know
Yeah.
how else to explain it unless you've lived here for a bit or lived here your whole life. Like it just
feels
sounds Atlanta.
Super Atlanta.
It does.
From that time period. too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like that really like slowed down, but
Yeah.
like super vibed out, cool.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it made me like realize like when you listen to artists like Future and stuff who are all about the vibe and setting the mood and stuff like that, like you can feel this like early roots and that style where the emphasis on mood and vibe is put before lyrical content.
Right.
And I thought I loved that song.
Yep, that's great.
The next song for me that I really enjoyed was I Walk the Line, which is track 3.
Yeah.
I wake up with an attitude, cause Mo BS. So much drama I'm facing, it's gotta be a test. Stressing me more than yesterday. I know it's gonna pay for me to keep on fighting through these hell-filled days. Niggas jealous of my ride clothes, bros and hoes, and wonder why I don't hang with them like they think I'm supposed. Telling old girl she deserves better, like better means you. Weak-minded ass nigga with your hating ass crew. Talking about what's up when you see me knowing you pray I get caught. Cause niggas buy they shit from me, when from you they once bought. I got your number.
I really enjoyed the beat off of that.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really clean beat, and I don't know if you know, but did he, like, how does he make his beats? Because they all sounded like really, like it was amazing to me. More than anything, it was like, why was his beat production never like elevated past?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I think, and what's interesting is they all sound a little different.
They're all a little different.
They sound different in tone and stuff like that, but also like the level of polish.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I don't know if that was meant to be like that or if it was just like, we just want to get it out. So that's just, what they did. I'm not sure.
I know that there's a chance that he may take offense to this use of this word, but the song was fun.
Yeah.
Like it made me smile. Like, and I was like, oh yeah, that's nice. Like it felt pleasing, like, to listen to. And I also thought that the hook was really good on that one.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed I Walk a Line. That's track 3. Mm-hmm. I had 4 total favorites. The third one that I liked was track 5, which is Back to the Beat.
Oh yeah.
Just purely for the beat.
Yeah.
Like the beat on that's so hard. Mm-hmm. Like I would listen to that just instrumental all day long.
That radio got you thinking niggas is really shitting. Anything could be a hit through repetition. He who dares to be original escapes comprehension. Commercial niggas get the public attention, but dissension amongst the ranks gon' surface such nerves on purpose. Verbal attack to display what you say is worthless. If you were the first to make $1, I cherish what you speak, but you ain't. So bring it back to the beat. It's like that. If you yell at freestyle, let your style be free. Bring it back to the beats. I'm passing the night to every chick that I meet. Just bring it back to the beats.
I'm trying to keep my stuff in to kind of hold some of my favorites. Obviously, since I picked this and my story of this is, I think all these songs are super fun and just, it really takes me always back to like the vibe of like me riding around in my car, having the music bumping and just, I think I had like 2 10s in the back. I wasn't cool enough to have 2 12s, but you know what I mean? Like it was just
2 10s will get you there.
It was, absolutely.
And then lastly for me on my list of ones that I liked, As You Like It, track 6. Mm-hmm. Might be because I'm already feeling so good about track 5 that I like that song so much. Yeah. But the vibe on that to me felt, again, just very East Atlanta, felt very Decatur, Goody Mob. Yeah. It had some like soul food type vibe to me. Mm-hmm. And I really liked that song, As You Like It, track 6. Yeah, it was great. I'm interested, since we've heard your favorites, what do you think of Big Dipper as a lyricist? This was something that I was going to get into about the songs that I did not like. Okay. Well, that's a natural great point, because the first song that I didn't like, now that we're done talking about my favorites, is Feature Presentation, track 2. Mm-hmm. I was so blown away, and it's crazy because I've listened to the intro and I was like, oh, this is gonna be dope. I can't wait. And then track 2 came on.
Yeah.
I hated the hook.
Really?
Hated the hook. I thought it was just so corny.
Yeah.
Like even being 98, I was like, this feels some like 89, like early 90s type rap. I did not like the hook at all.
Get your mind blown like cyclones in your area. Wreck it till we gone. It's them Showtime niggas. Now it's on. No more same old song with different versions. Original beats and rhymes on this excursion. Pulling the hearse, scoop up the crews left for dead. Applejack, Big Dipper, boots upside your head one time. So long we've been working to get our shot, to make it not rock to some real hip hop.
Come in the place and rock the party real steady, and all we wanna know is.
I don't remember if it's this song, but there's like the lyrics in this were they felt very elementary to me. And like when I hear people talk bad about Lil Wayne as a lyricist, and that like it's just pun, like relying on puns or whatever, little catch lines. That's how Big Dipper was to me. But I did not really enjoy him as a lyricist, to be honest with you. He had this one line somewhere. I mean, he did the same thing that Magoo does, talking about like doo-doo being messy, and that you know how I feel about that. That's just a messy lyric.
I tell you, man, that things we have to watch, people have to watch out for when we bring them on full rotation is if you have a silly name or if you mention doo-doo, we're not taking it.
I'm just tired of the doo-doo. I didn't realize how many people rapped about doo-doo.
It's apparently a lot
prior to this, but and then another point he says, like, you know, you're soft like titties in a wet t-shirt, and it's like, it just felt very like.
But I feel like that's also very Freaknik.
Yeah, to be fair, Freaknik, I get that. He also like followed that with a reference to a Nerf ball, so I don't but yeah, so I did not really enjoy him and so here's the thing. I enjoyed his flow. Yeah. Like the cadence of it. Yeah. Really enjoyed the flow. Yeah. The lyrics, the things he was actually saying, when I tried to like put it on my lyric hat and actually pay attention to the words, I was like, oh man, you're not really doing it for me. Okay. And then the other song that I didn't like, This Here, that's track 4. Mm-hmm. I like the intro to that song. Yeah. And I like, as soon as it comes on, I'm like, oh, all right, this is gonna be good. I like this.
Now I pour lyrics over microphones like liquor over ice. The tone is nice, plus I got a style that sticks like swordfish. Who wish to exchange wits? I break down crews and give fits. The competition just for trying to resist. The flow is continuous and motion everlasting. You grasp it, trying to get a hold of what I'm blasting. Right out your speakers, every word is heard. It's absurd. I rip microphones from Atlanta to Johannesburg. I spit on faces in public places, but shots from rooftops. And when crews drop, no question asked.
But I like the cadence of his flow. But I just feel like the lyrics are a little corny to me. Yeah. I did enjoy his ad-libs. Yeah. Nice. I was happy to see that.
That's good.
I feel like people weren't really commonly doing ad-libs at this time in hip-hop. Yeah. And he has some really good ad-libs, to be fair. Okay. But the lyrics, I couldn't get into. But, yeah. But those are the 2 songs I didn't like, track 2 and track 4.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
What about you?
Let me take this in. This is very interesting because I think we're almost flip-flopped on almost everything. Okay. This is very interesting. So
this is first time.
Yeah. So for me, my top favorite one is This Here.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. Tell me why. What did I miss?
I love the beats and I love the lyrics. I don't know. I think
the beat is hard. Yeah. All the beats on this album are super hard.
So okay, I'm glad you're saying
like
that.
9 of 10, 10 of 10 beats for sure.
Yeah. So okay, that's good because for me, I found it very hard to like find really any songs I didn't like the beat to.
Right. At least, I like every beat on this album.
Yeah. For me, I wrote Big Dipper is absolutely killing it. So I always rhyme along with it. Now,
was it the cadence or what he was actually saying?
I think there's some cadence. I think the braggadocio about like being from Atlanta and stuff like that always tugs on my heartstrings. Yeah. So I think a lot of it's that, and I think a lot of it, I'm just I really came up in listening to like all the boot camp stuff, all like the really rugged stuff. So I think all that stuff just really, and I guess just me as a sheltered kid, I'm like, oh, this is like the edgy stuff, right? So that was one of my favorite ones. As You Like It is my next one. Okay. Which I believe you said you didn't.
Yeah, I did like As You Like It.
Okay, you did like that one.
That's the one that felt like it had some Goody Mob vibes. Yeah. Like it.
Check this here. Now it's front and center soon as I enter you like a splinter with the hardest, coldest Eskimo winters.
Serving whack niggas like frozen dinners. Eyes on my target, forfeit your life, nigga, when I mark it. Spark it with terrestrial magnetism. In case of your position, lionize after 9 slugs hit ya. Immobilize the guys inside with ya. Optical character readers can't decipher the line that'll greet ya. Beat you to some.
I said it's a great piano riff.
That piano is hard.
Yeah. And I actually like the loud snare. That one, the beat and everything is just so perfect. It's just like a head nod beat. You just like, you can't nod your head on that one.
You have to bop to that beat.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Sure.
Again, I think there's some wordplay in there that I was a really big fan of. You know, I had to like actually stop myself from literally like putting all the songs because it's just such like a favorite album of mine. I put for the third and my final pick for the top songs is the Cater theme and the remix.
Right.
I just think they are so phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's just it's such a vibe. It's such a vibe. Like
I genuinely enjoyed Decatur theme.
Yeah,
like
that's
a lot.
I bet you if you put that out now, it'd probably get a lot of play. Like maybe not on mainstream, but like in like indie circuits and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I really think that one's there.
Say what? Come on.
Now that we started it, the party don't stop.
Party don't
Set
stop.
off like Showtime crew right out the Eastern Block.
Word
Popping
up.
bottle tops and guzzle till it buzz your knot. We keep it bumping for them people in the parking lot. This is how we keep it live on the outside. We gotta bump something when we ride. I'm about to scoop these niggas up, cause it's time to roll. Put on those seatbelts, case later on we lose control. Don't let you bring the O you go, cause I got skins. And since you riding, put that Frankie Beverly.
My favorite ones is I Walk the Line.
That was a great song, yeah.
I mean, not my favorite. My least favorite. My
Okay,
least favorite.
okay.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
We switched that. Okay, why least favorite?
I don't know what it is, but I put something always makes me want to skip it. It may be the beat, but I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think it's just it's a little bit louder than some of the other songs around it, and so maybe it's just like I'm not used to like having it in my headphone. And then all of a sudden it like blows up in my ears. And I'm just like, oh, let me just skip over this.
This album was mastered weird. I
Yeah,
feel like
I just don't think it was.
Yeah.
I think like it was like cool. We have these songs done. Let's put it out and then just keep hustling, and which is totally fine, right? Like I think there's a lot of albums that like again don't sound this good.
Yeah.
And so total pass for that. I put For the Writers, which was track 7. Only because the remix is so much better and it's literally the same vocal track and like the remix, the beat's just so much better.
Right.
I think it's a super phenomenal album, and I think out of the tracks I would skip, those two are like Walk the Line and For the Writers. Besides that though, I mean, I would give it a full rotation every time. I don't know what you think about that.
I'm doing a 3/4.
3/4?
Yeah, and honestly, just because and all 3/4 of that are beats.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
all 3/4 of that are beat. Like and maybe I do like Big Dippa's like flow style.
Yeah.
But I think he had a very like cool style to his flow. But as far as me, 3/4 rotation.
Okay, and that's fair. I think like again, this is an album that I've sat with for 20 years, and like I have all these fond memories of it, and so like. And I think if I were to like listen to it with fresh ears, I totally would probably be like, oh, well, this is kind of a little whatever. But
this is your welcome to our world. This was what the album last week was for me.
Yeah, exactly.
I did wonder though, like again, when you look at the timeline, like there are a lot of other like I think Ludacris had already started dropping some like Fat Rabbit type remixes with Timbaland. Like there was a lot of stuff happening here in Atlanta that I feel like was more advanced. I don't know if that's like the right word or the perfect word, but again, Outkast had already just done, and it's terrible to compare anybody to Outkast.
Right,
my
it's
favorite
tough.
Of all time.
It's tough, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
any group that comes from Atlanta, I think that's a smaller group, and is gonna be like, oh, are they like Outkast or are they better than Outkast?
You know what I think that this album I think Applejack would have benefited from a more modern rapper. If he had like a more modern, like more innovative, like lyricist, I think that this could have been, a really, really, really phenomenal sound. I think that similar to your critique of Magoo is that he just had he was doing a style of rapping that was already like really, really done a lot.
Yeah, and that's totally fair.
Yeah.
One side note I think I'll mention before we jump back into the future is. They also did 2 other songs that I'm going to kind of include in the liner notes.
The bonus tracks.
Yeah,
I didn't really get to deep dive on those.
That's fine. One's called Extrication. It's a really, really fun, bouncy beat. They released it also like 15 years later. I think it was like in 2000 or something like that. And then Diamond Lady, which is in a phenomenal soul sampled slow jam. I'm going to include those as well. They're super great. They're not part of the album, so that's totally fine. Anything Showtime that I can kind of push forward and show to people because I love it so much, I'd like to talk about that. So ready to jump back to the future?
Let's go back to the future. Is it me first or you first?
You can go first this time.
My Back to the Future is a pretty relatively new Gunna. Mm-hmm. He's part of QC.
Yeah.
Just released an album last Friday, I think, and I enjoyed the whole album.
Yep. What's the name of the album? Was it Drop or Drip It?
Drip or Drown.
Drip or Drown.
Drip or Drown 2.
I actually started listening to that.
I really enjoy, I'm not going to him for some intellectual, crazy,
sure,
Q-tip style, lesson that he's going to teach me. Mm-hmm. He's there for the vibe.
Yeah.
I'm just really addicted to a vibe right now.
Yeah.
And I can put that album on, and whether I'm working or I'm, cleaning or walking around or whatever, it's just an album I want on the background pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
For me, though, the album on that I love the most is Derek Fisher.
But I know she think I'm lying. Oh, you can be my vibe, but I'm not looking for a ride. 6, 7, 8, 9 foreigns when I open the garage. Niggas pillow talking, I can barely get a time. Different shot of coughing, Playboy B-Lo cut my spine. For the extra talking, pull up, spin a whole block and then ride. Draco, AR, gloss and carbon, put in the work for your side. Keep it real, I just had to realize. I caught it, he ain't tell, he stood up into the time.
And that's because he has Little Baby on it. And there's something about, I wish Young Thug was on it too.
Yeah.
But there's something about the three of them that when any of, whether it's all three or some combination of, they're amazing together.
I feel like I hear a lot of Lil Baby and Gunna. Did they do a mixtape together or something like that?
They did. They've done a bunch of songs. I think they had a mixtape together.
Yeah.
They're both on QC.
Okay.
I have trouble understanding who came first. They both came around the same time. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people say that Gunna taught Lil Baby how to rap. But they both say that that's not true.
Huh. We could do a chicken or egg. We should ask them. Which guys came first.
But Gunna is just incredible, and I love him. With any Lil Baby Gunna combination, I'm probably going to be a fan of.
This may or may not surprise you, but I judge these guys based off their names. And
is Lil Baby not good? I think there's a lot of babies in hip hop.
That's the thing. All right, so there's a thing with Lil Baby. I feel like, all right, we already have one Baby who no one really likes anymore. I feel, and then you have Lil Baby. I honestly thought he was part of Cash Money. That's what I thought when I heard that.
Well, there is a overlap with Cash Money. Young Thug was really involved with Birdman.
Right.
So I think that there is a little bit of family love.
Yeah, and then Gunna's fine. I just think there's a lot of people with the name Gun. I want to say there was another dude from Fort Lauderdale with Gun in his name, Gunplay.
There's a lot of Gunplay.
Yeah.
I hate comparing. Gunplay is he's almost, and this is super offensive, but he's almost like a Weird Al Yankovic of hip hop to me.
Nice.
He's a caricature.
Yeah.
He's not
that's like Stitches.
Yeah, and he does the crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly like Stitches.
Yeah.
So I hear you. There's a lot of people named Gunn, but Gunna, man, he's cool.
Yeah, no,
he's really cool.
No, shout out to Gunna. I need to listen to that album. I listened to the first couple of tracks, and then I think I got busy with work, so I drowned it out.
Yeah. What's your Back to the Future?
It's a super indie group called Disc, DISQ.
Okay.
And their song's called Communication. They're like an alt, grungy type sound. I either saw them on Twitter or I saw them somewhere, and I clicked on it, and I really, really dug it. It kind of reminded me back of the garage band days.
Not hip hop.
Not hip hop.
Okay,
yes,
cool,
to be
cool.
clear. Not
indie.
Indie.
Garage rock.
Yeah, garage rock. Back to my old Queens of the Stone Age type feel. Yeah, so I'm really digging that. I think it's great. I think they only have 2 songs out. They've only done a little that's how indie I'm getting now. I wanted to throw it super far obscure and everything.
Yeah.
So
pulled out your hipster card twice.
Yeah. I think I need to start pulling it. And that's actually a good segue to kind of I feel like the past 3 episodes have been all rap.
Yeah,
I think in the next couple ones we've talked about a little bit, I think might not be. So I'm super stoked for that. I'm stoked to get a little bit of a different vibe going with this.
Just to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, I love hip hop, obviously, but I think we wouldn't be doing our duties as listening to things we haven't heard if we don't get out of that genre.
Yeah.
So.
I listen to hip hop every day, but I also listen to some other genres too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's it. I think this was a really easy one. One more time for the shout out. If you want to get in touch with us, please send us emails at thefullrotationpodcast@gmail.com. Send us questions, comments, or any kind of album recommendations you may have. We'd love to hear it. If you want to follow us on the social, twitter.com/thefullrotation, instagram.com/thefullrotation. And as always, you can go to our website at thefullrotation.com. Till then, John, this was great.
Good job.
All right.
You're a player.
See y'all.
Bye.